All right. So yes, I mistakenly cut the video. So now we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you how to work with digital signals on an Arduino board. So this is going to be like an introduction to how to actually program on your Arduino Uno or any microcontroller using the Arduino IDE. I'm not going to be using the Arduino IDE. I'm going to be using the inbuilt code editor of this, of Tinkercad. But the code is the same with what runs on your Arduino. All right. So now to start, I have to pull up my Arduino board. So let's pull it out. So I'll get out the screen. So I think Arduino was my door. R3. So it goes right. All right. So we have an Arduino R3, and you can see here it says analog in, and this is the digital side, and plus it has a PWM pin 2 for performing pulse width modulation. And we'll still talk about pulse width modulation when we are working with servo motors. Now, so to quickly get into it, I'm gonna need my breadboard. So I'm gonna need an LED and a resistor and a breadboard. So yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna need all these three things. Now, so first things first, you will surprise I didn't pull out a battery because we're going to be powering our breadboard from our Arduino. So Arduino has a 5 volts and a ground pin. So those are going to be what we'll be using to turn on or power our circuits. So I wouldn't be able to work with it like that. So to first start, we need to be able to wire up what we've wired up before. So we're going to connect an LED in series with our board to start. So I'm going to just place this LED anywhere here. This is the cathode. So I always like to flip in this direction, and I'm going to make this turn. So too much. Okay. Now I'm going to connect this up to my LED. Then I'm going to connect this one to positive, and then I'll just do this so that it looks a bit nice. Then I'm going to take it back to negative. So this guy should be red in color. Okay, so now what I need to wire up now. So well, I shouldn't have done this actually, but I'll just keep going. So now what I need to do, I can easily power this from my Arduino board. So to show you, I'm just go and yep. Okay, I was a bit of a distance. So come down, come up, go. Yeah. And then ground. All right. So ground should be black. Okay. So if I click the start simulation, yeah, it should start, and yeah, the LED is on, but it's very dim. So I'll just drop this to ohms because it needs to. Yeah, okay, it blew up. So that's 1 ohm. So let's say 100. All right. So 100 ohms. Now LED is on and it's fine. I'm powering everything from my Arduino. So, but what if currently I still don't have any control over, like, how am I supposed to make the LED blink or come on and go off and all that? So to do that, I would stop powering it directly from here because these ports supply 5 volt and ground, or they supply power indefinitely without respect to whether I'm writing any code or not. So since I'm trying to explain digital signals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I can't use any of this, by the way. This is TX and RX, therefore sending data via the serial communication interface, or basically UART, serial communication. We're going to talk about serial communication later, but we're going to focus on these other pins from 2 to 13. So let's say from pin 2 now, I want to use the digital pin. Remember, it's a digital pin to control my LED. So this guy has to come here. So I'll just move this in this direction. Now, how do I continue my wiring? I need to send out my ground because everything has to share the same ground. If not, the circuit will not be complete. You understand? So I'll just do this. Take this ground here. Take from my ground. Take it down here. All right. So I'm going to make this red because this is eventually going to be sending 5 volts out of this board. Now remember what I said, that if 5 volts means high while 0 volts means low. So when I want to send data to my LED, I need to send 5 volts through this port. I need to make this port a 5 volt port. So this port can function as both input and output to our microcontroller. So you have from 2 to 13 can function as an input and output. This one's 2 can function as input and output for analog signals, while these are for digital signals. So we're going to write our code to say, okay, pin 2 is going to be an output pin, and it's going to be sending out 5 volts to this LED right here, and so that the LED can come on, right? So look at what happens when the 5 volt goes through this LED. It comes to the LED, then it returns back, and where does it go? Back to ground. If for any reason the voltage doesn't go back to ground, the LED will not come on because we didn't fulfill, or we didn't create a complete circuit. All right. So now to start writing code on our Arduino Uno, we have a code blocks part right here. So it says code. Now I'm going to select code. Okay. And it allows you to either use block stacking, but we're not going to be using that. We're going to be using text, right? So yeah, text. Now it says here C++ code, void setup, void loop. You can see something about pin mode and some other stuff. All right. So what this particular code currently does, if we upload it, is that the inbuilt or the built-in LED is gonna blink. But since I'm not using the built-in LED, I'm using my own LED on pin number 2. So the first thing I need to say is int, right? Int, what's the name of the pin? Let's call it LED pin, and let's say it is on what? Pin number 2. All right. So now we know the LED pin is on pin number 2. What does what I just wrote now, what does it mean? Now in C++, there's something called data types, which are basically how data is stored. Or for example, how is this Arduino Uno going to store the data that you want to use to perform an action, right? So there are data types, just like the way there are different types of stuff like this. It's paper, it's pen, and everything that exists is a form of data, right? So now, how does Arduino store some of this data? It stores them in data types. There's integer, there's string, there's boolean. There are a lot of other data types that we'll look at as we progress. But for currently, since we are storing a number, we store it in an integer, and then we have to give that number a name so that we can address it later on when we want to write our code. So now we said int LED pin is 2. Now in our setup, this thing, when you see pin mode basically means, okay, now this LED pin, what state is it going to be? Is it an input or an output pin? We know that, so we're going to change it to LED pin, right? And we know that LED pin is what? An output pin, obviously, because it's going to be sending 5 volts, out. All right. Now everything in the setup runs exactly once. It runs once. It's just a setup, and once you plug in your board, it runs the setup once, and then it stays in the loop. It never leaves the loop forever. This is actually a function that will continue to reiterate itself. So now let's say digital write. So I'm going to change. So when you hear digital write basically means you're sending data to a particular digital pin. And if you hear analog write, it means you are sending data to a particular analog pin. So we say digital writes LED pin high, and when we delay for 1 second, we say digital write LED pin low. All right. So now I'm going to upload this code, and let's see what happens when I do that. So let me see. Download. I don't want to download Arduino Uno R3. Yes. And start. Okay. So let's see if it works. So let's see if it works. So if you look here, you find that the LED is blinking every 1 second. All right. So yeah, so that's how we send digital. It's just how we send a digital signal to blink an LED. You get, and we could add a switch to say, we could do a lot of other stuff. In our next video, we're going to play around adding a switch. We're going to talk about how to receive data, and yeah, this video is already about 20 minutes long. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video and stay fresh.